Introduction to the Alien Academy. The Galactic Survival Academy stood as the pinnacle of interstellar military training, its reputation revered across the galaxy. Built into the side of a sprawling asteroid, the Academy's halls were carved from gleaming alloys and adorned with holographic banners showcasing past graduates who had become heroes. It was a place of prestige, designed to mold recruits from low-threat worlds into elite soldiers and survivalists. The recruits came from dozens of planets, each species bringing unique strengths. The towering Thoraxians, known for their near-impervious endurance, the nimble Zelphids, whose agility bordered on precognition, and the resourceful KRYXX, masters of adaptability to shifting climates. Each species had evolved to thrive within the safety of their controlled, predictable environments. Earth, however, was a name that evoked unease. A deaf world, infamous for its unforgiving ecosystems and predatory species. Humans had never trained at the Academy. Earth's reputation made many alien civilizations wary of its inhabitants, whose resilience and survival instincts bordered on the unnatural. But this year was different. Political pressure from the Galactic Council had forced the Academy to accept its first human cadet, setting the stage for an unorthodox experiment. Introduction to Lily. Lily Morgan stood at the entrance to the Academy's main simulation dome, her sharp brown eyes taking in her surroundings with quiet curiosity. At just 16, she was significantly younger than most of the recruits, but she carried herself with a calm confidence that was difficult to ignore. Her frame, while lean and unassuming, masked a body tempered by the harsh trials of Earth, a planet that bred survivors. Her peers regarded her with a mix of disdain and amusement. The Thoraxian cadets towered over her, their massive frames bristling with muscle, while the Zelphids exchanged telepathic murmurs, their silvery eyes flicking toward her with thinly veiled skepticism. To them, Lily was fragile, an outlier among stronger, faster, and more advanced species. The instructors, too, held little faith in her abilities. Commander Varric, a reptilian KRYXX with a scaled, authoritative presence, leaned toward his colleague as they watched Lily step forward for her first assessment. "Her physiology is laughably unsuited for this program," he hissed, his voice laced with derision. "This experiment will be over in less than a week." But Lily paid no attention to the whispers or the sidelong glances. She studied the other cadets instead, noting their hesitation as they approached the simulation dome. They clung to their survival kits, their movements calculated and cautious, as if they feared the environment they were about to enter. A small smile tugged at Lily's lips. Afraid of the dark already, she murmured under her breath, "The first challenge." The challenge was simple in theory but brutal in execution. Cadets were dropped into a dense, artificial jungle teeming with robotic predators, venomous plants, and rapidly shifting weather conditions. Their task: survive for 48 hours with limited resources while navigating to a series of checkpoints. The simulation began with a blinding flash as each cadet was teleported to a random location within the jungle. Alien recruits scrambled to orient themselves, their eyes darting nervously as the unfamiliar sounds of growling predators echoed around them. Lily landed silently amidst a patch of thick underbrush. She crouched low, her earth-honed instincts immediately kicking in. Her eyes scanned the terrain, noting the rustling leaves overhead, the faint tracks in the soil, and the subtle hum of a nearby robotic predator. She moved swiftly, her steps light and deliberate, blending seamlessly into her environment. While other cadets struggled to find food and shelter, Lily was already 3 steps ahead. She fashioned a makeshift spear from a fallen branch, sharpened its tip with a small survival knife, and used it to fend off a robotic predator that had ambushed her by a stream. Unbothered, she knelt to drink and clean a small cache of berries she'd foraged along the way. Alien cadets, meanwhile, were faring far worse. A Zelphid recruit attempted to outrun a predator, only to trip over an exposed root. A Thoraxian, relying too heavily on brute strength, found himself exhausted after fending off a pack of drones. The jungle was unrelenting, and the cadets' strategies, while effective on their home planets, proved inadequate against the simulation's unpredictability. The instructors watched the unfolding chaos from the control room, their attention gradually drawn to one screen, Lily's. "She's not just surviving," one remarked in disbelief. "She's thriving." By the end of the first day, Lily had already reached the second checkpoint, setting up an improvised shelter in the crook of a massive tree. She had food, water, and even a small fire burning, a feat none of her peers had managed. The instructors exchanged uneasy glances. "What kind of training do they undergo on Earth?" Commander Varric muttered, his tone now tinged with a hint of apprehension. Puzzling success. As the challenge continued into its second day, Lily's efficiency only became more pronounced. She avoided unnecessary confrontations, using her wits to navigate around dangers rather than confronting them head-on. Where alien cadets saw obstacles, Lily saw opportunities. A swamp became a source of drinking water after filtration. A dense thicket provided camouflage against a patrolling drone. By the end of the 48 hours, Lily not only completed the challenge, but did so with an ease that bordered on arrogance. She arrived at the final checkpoint, her clothes intact and her energy seemingly undiminished. Her peers, meanwhile, stumbled in with torn uniforms, bruised bodies, and hollow expressions. Alien instructors, once dismissive of the human cadet, now watched her with a mix of awe and suspicion. It was clear to them that Lily's success wasn't just luck. It was a testament to the unique and unsettling adaptability of Deathworlders. And as Lily met their gaze, a faint smirk on her lips, one thought lingered in their minds. What have we unleashed? Midweek challenges. The survival course intensified as the week progressed. Each challenge was designed to test a specific skill: endurance, resourcefulness, or tactical decision-making. By midweek, the cadets faced two of the Academy's most grueling simulations, and Lily quickly emerged as the top performer. The first challenge placed the recruits at the base of a simulated active volcano. They had to ascend its treacherous slopes, avoiding falling rocks, navigating unstable ground, and enduring sweltering heat. Most cadets struggled. The Thoraxians relied on brute strength but moved too slowly, exhausting themselves before reaching halfway. The Zelphids used their agility but faltered on the slick, uneven terrain. Lily, however, approached the challenge with calculated precision, drawing on Earth-learned techniques. She wrapped her sleeves around her hands to grip hot surfaces and moved in short bursts, using natural outcroppings to shield herself from the intense heat. Where others hesitated, she climbed confidently, her balance honed from years of Earth's unpredictable environments. By the time she reached the summit, she was the only cadet who hadn't sustained an injury. The next simulation was a tactical survival exercise against hostile alien drones. The cadets were equipped with basic tools and tasked with either evading or neutralizing the drones. Most recruits attempted direct confrontations, only to be overwhelmed by the drone's speed and firepower. Lily took a different approach. She studied the drone's patrol patterns, setting traps, and using the terrain to her advantage. In one instance, she lured a drone into a narrow canyon, where it became stuck, then disabled it using an improvised slingshot. Her guerrilla-style tactics, reminiscent of human warfare, baffled the instructors, who had never seen such unorthodox methods. The alien cadets, impressed and confused by her success, began attempting to mimic her strategies. But their efforts backfired. Lacking Lily's instinctive adaptability, they found themselves caught in situations they couldn't anticipate. The KRYXX cadets, for example, tried setting traps but overcomplicated the designs, resulting in failure. The Thoraxians attempted to use cover, but moved too clumsily to remain hidden. As Lily's victories mounted, the gap between her performance and the others grew glaringly obvious. The Academy's most rigorous challenges seemed to be no match for the ingenuity of a Deathworlder. The instructor's growing concern. Behind closed doors, the instructors gathered to review Lily's progress. The holographic table displayed her flawless challenge, scores alongside the dismal results of her peers. Commander Varric was the first to speak. This isn't just proficiency. She's dismantling our simulations. Every single one. Instructor Kyra, a Zelphid with a sharp, analytical mind, gestured to a recording of Lily reprogramming a disabled drone. She's exploiting weaknesses we didn't even consider. Our simulations were designed to test the limits of conventional training, not to counter this earthborn improvisation. Varric leaned forward, his scales glinting under the artificial light. And she's only 16. If this is what an adolescent human is capable of, imagine their seasoned soldiers. What does this mean for galactic stability if humans join our forces en masse? Silence fell over the room. The instructors had underestimated the implications of Lily's success. This wasn't just a matter of her excelling in their course. It was a stark reminder of how differently Deathworlders operated. Their unpredictability, creativity, and defiance of established norms were traits that could either strengthen the galaxy or destabilize it entirely. One instructor hesitantly voiced what the others were thinking. Perhaps we made a mistake letting her in. Varric shook his head. No, the mistake was underestimating what humans are. Alien cadets' reactions. Among the cadets, Lily's rapid rise to the top sparked tension. Whispers circulated in the dormitories, accusing her of receiving special treatment or secret advantages. The Thoraxians grumbled that her small frame allowed her to move faster in the jungle. The KRYXX muttered that her strategies were borderline cheating. The resentment came to a head one evening in the communal mess hall. A Thoraxian cadet, towering over Lily, slammed his tray onto her table. "You think you're better than us," he growled, his voice rumbling like a distant thunderstorm. "You're just lucky. These challenges weren't made for you." Lily didn't flinch. She leaned back in her chair, meeting the Thoraxian's gaze with calm resolve. "Lucky?" she repeated, her tone even. "Luck doesn't help you outthink a drone or climb a volcano. You think I have an advantage because I'm human? Maybe the problem isn't me. Maybe it's your over-reliance on rules." Her words silenced the room. Alien cadets exchanged uneasy glances, unsure how to respond. "Survival doesn't care about rules," Lily continued, her voice steady but firm. "It doesn't care how big you are, how fast you are, or how many regulations you follow. It cares about who's willing to adapt, who's willing to do what needs to be done." The Thoraxian stepped back, visibly unsettled. The other cadets, once dismissive of Lily, now looked at her with a mix of respect and fear. Her statement had exposed a fundamental truth they'd never considered. Their training, for all its rigor, was bound by a framework that humans were not constrained by. Lily returned to her meal, the tension dissipating as quickly as it had arisen, but the incident left an indelible impression on her peers. For the first time, they understood what it meant to face a Deathworlder. Not just a being of strength or skill, but someone who saw the world differently, who thrived in chaos and found opportunity in adversity. And as Lily prepared for the next challenge, the cadets and instructors alike couldn't shake the same uneasy thought. What else was she capable of? Setup of the final challenge. The Galactic Survival Academy's final challenge was a notorious rite of passage, spoken of with equal parts dread and reverence. Officially titled the Planetary Catastrophe Simulation, it was designed to simulate the collapse of a habitable world. The cadets would face a relentless series of environmental hazards: acid rain, volcanic eruptions, seismic activity, and predatory creatures. Supplies would be scarce, and hostile entities, simulated alien raiders and advanced drones, would hunt them mercilessly. The instructors made no secret of the simulation's brutality. It was intended to break the cadets, to force them into submission and weed out those who couldn't handle extreme stress. Survival was the only metric for success, but winning was considered impossible. Commander Varric addressed the assembled cadets in the briefing room, his cold, reptilian eyes scanning the crowd. "This is not a test of strength or intelligence," he growled. "This is a test of will. Most of you will fail. Some of you will surrender. A select few may survive to the end. That is the way of things." His gaze lingered on Lily for a moment, his expression unreadable. The cadets were teleported to different starting points on a simulated planet, each equipped with a basic survival kit containing limited rations, a small blade, and a communicator with only a single function: surrender. Lily's unique approach. As the simulation began, chaos erupted. Acid rain poured from darkened skies, forcing cadets to scramble for cover. The ground split open, revealing rivers of molten lava, and the air was filled with the menacing hum of robotic predators on the hunt. Most cadets stuck to their training manuals, attempting to follow the Academy survival guidelines. They sought isolated shelters, rationed their supplies, and avoided unnecessary risks. Yet within hours, it became clear that these methods weren't enough. The hazards came too quickly, overwhelming even the most prepared recruits. Lily, however, didn't hesitate. As soon as she landed in the simulation, she surveyed her surroundings, identified the immediate threats, and devised a plan. She didn't try to survive alone. Instead, she sought out her peers, forming small alliances. Her confidence and decisive actions naturally positioned her as the group leader. "Listen," she told her Thoraxian and Zelphid teammates, her voice steady despite the distant roars of approaching predators. "If we stick to the manual, we're all going to die. We need to do this my way." Though skeptical, the cadets followed her lead. Lily's strategies were unconventional but effective. She taught them to build fire in the acid rain, using chemical reactions from their survival kits. She divided their rations based on energy expenditure, ensuring no one starved or overate. She used psychological manipulation to keep morale high, even as the dangers mounted, framing every small victory as monumental. Under Lily's guidance, her group thrived where others faltered. Cadets who had dismissed her earlier in the week now looked to her for direction, their respect growing with every obstacle she overcame. Subverting the simulation. By the second day, the simulation was meant to push the remaining cadets to their breaking point. Robotic predators grew more aggressive, environmental hazards became more frequent, and resources all but disappeared. Most cadets either surrendered or found themselves incapacitated. Lily's group pressed on, but she knew survival alone wouldn't suffice. Her instincts told her there was a way to beat the simulation outright. During a rare moment of calm, Lily examined the behavior of the robotic predators, noticing a pattern in their movements. She realized they weren't truly autonomous, but operated on a centralized control system. If she could locate and exploit that system, she might turn the tide in their favor. Using scavenge parts from disabled drones and her communicator, Lily cobbled together a makeshift hacking device. The alien cadets watched in awe as she bypassed the system's rudimentary safeguards, using nothing more than Earth-learned logic and sheer determination. "Are you sure this will work?" a skeptical Zelphid cadet asked. "No," Lily admitted, her hands steady as she worked. "But I'd rather take the risk than wait to die." Minutes later, she succeeded. The robotic predators, once relentless in their pursuit of the cadets, suddenly froze. Moments later, they began attacking simulated raiders instead, acting as protectors for Lily's group. In the control room, chaos erupted among the instructors. "She's hacked the system," an incredulous instructor shouted. "This was supposed to be impossible," Kyra hissed, her silver eyes wide. "She's turned our own simulation against us." The simulation spiraled out of control. Lily and her group marched through the remaining hazards unchallenged, the robotic predators shielding them from danger. Other cadets, seeing what was happening, flocked to Lily's group for protection. By the time they reached the simulation's endpoint, she wasn't just leading a small team. She was commanding nearly every surviving cadet. The instructor's shock. As the simulation ended, the cadets were teleported back to the academy, their uniforms stained and their faces etched with exhaustion. All except Lily, who emerged unscathed, her group standing behind her like a victorious army. In the control room, the instructors reviewed the results in stunned silence. Commander Varric finally broke the tension. "She didn't just survive," he said, his voice heavy. "She conquered it." Instructor Kyra added, "She subverted every rule, every parameter we put in place. This isn't just a testament to her ingenuity. It's a warning about what humans are capable of. The instructors exchanged uneasy glances, realizing that they had underestimated the implications of admitting a Deathworlder. What they had witnessed was not just a demonstration of human survival instincts, but a display of strategic brilliance that could redefine the galaxy's understanding of warfare. As Lily stood before the gathered cadets, her peers now looking at her with a mix of awe and fear, one thing was certain: the Academy would never be the same again. The aftermath of the simulation. The simulation had ended, but chaos reigned in the Academy's control room. The instructors scrambled to restore their systems, only to find many were permanently compromised by Lily's tampering. The robotic predators, now operating autonomously under Lily's programming, refused to return to standby mode, instead roaming the simulation zone like loyal sentinels. Lily walked out of the simulation zone unscathed, her posture relaxed as if she had just finished a casual training exercise. Behind her, the alien cadet stumbled and limped, battered by the ordeal but alive. Thanks to her leadership, a crowd had gathered outside the simulation chamber, murmuring in disbelief at the sight. Alien cadets who had once ridiculed Lily now looked at her with open awe and, for some, barely concealed fear. The instructors, however, were far from impressed. Commander Varric intercepted her, his reptilian face twisted in a mix of anger and bewilderment. "Cadet Lily," he barked, "how did you manage to override the system protocols?" That was beyond the parameters of the test. Lily raised an eyebrow, her expression calm and composed. "You didn't say I couldn't," she replied evenly, her voice tinged with the faintest hint of defiance. Her response left the instructors momentarily speechless. She hadn't broken any explicit rules. She had simply operated outside the confines of their rigid expectations. Galactic implications. Later that evening, the Academy's top officials convened in a secretive meeting, their faces etched with concern. "She dismantled our most complex simulation," Instructor Kyra said, her usually serene silver features now tense. "She exploited weaknesses we didn't even realize existed." Commander Varric leaned forward, his claws tapping the table. "This is no longer about one cadet. It's about what humanity represents. If a single untrained human teenager can do this, what might an entire battalion of seasoned human soldiers achieve?" The room fell silent as the weight of his words settled. Humanity, classified as a death-world species, had always been considered unpredictable. But this demonstration of ingenuity and adaptability was beyond anything the galaxy had prepared for. One instructor proposed an immediate ban on human cadets at the Academy. "They don't belong here," he argued. "Their presence disrupts the balance of power we've maintained for centuries." Another instructor countered, "Banning them will only antagonize Earth. And if today's events have shown us anything, it's that humanity thrives when underestimated. We must learn to coexist, or risk making an enemy we cannot control." In the end, no consensus was reached, but one thing was clear: the galaxy could no longer afford to ignore humanity's potential. Lily's reflection. As the Academy buzzed with gossip and speculation, Lily returned to her quarters. She replayed the events of the past week in her mind, considering the reactions of her peers and instructors. Many cadets now treated her with respect, even admiration, while others avoided her altogether, their discomfort palpable. She could see the fear in their eyes, the realization that she, and by extension humanity, operated on an entirely different level. Sitting by her bunk, Lily smirked to herself. They rely too much on systems, she thought. Rules, procedures, hierarchies. It makes them predictable. But humans, we thrive in chaos. We weren't made to follow paths. We were made to forge them. Her reflection was interrupted by the soft chime of her communicator. Glancing at the screen, she saw an encrypted message from an unknown sender. Closing scene. The message was short, its words carefully chosen. "Earth needs more like you. Your journey has just begun." Lily stared at the screen, her mind racing. Who had sent the message? What did they mean by more like you? A sense of anticipation stirred within her. This week had been a test, but it was only the beginning. Humanity's story in the galaxy was unfolding, and Lily knew she had a role to play. As she deactivated the communicator and prepared for the next day, one thought lingered in her mind. Humanity had been underestimated for far too long, and the galaxy was about to learn just how wrong it had been. The screen faded to black, and the story ended, leaving viewers with a powerful sense of curiosity and excitement for what was to come.